For the very first time, we just drove up the rest of our driveway. We were actually able to pull up to our front porch, so big day. Excavator was here yesterday. Confirmed, our excavator was here yesterday.
Through the arbor, in the garden room, wings are beating, baby, me and you alone.
We're out to take the dogs for a walk and checking our camera trap, and there are a lot of rifles going off in the background. It's deer hunting season, thus the orange coats for the dogs.
All through the stages, both becoming seen into. Slowly we take on phosphorescence, vivid in the bone, phosphorescence. In the heavens, a billion signals move.
I just finished my Saturday hour-and-a-half cycling class, and the beauty of not having a finished cabin is now we've got to drive over to Rome so I can take a shower. So, trying to defrost the windows. It's not all glamorous and romantic over here, but luckily we have a shower to go to, thanks to Rome.
Slowly we take on phosphorescence, vivid in the bone, phosphorescence. Midnight halos twist tied together, turning on, so close together.
Would you have decided, knowing we didn't have a roofer?
God, no.
Would you have
No.
put this SIP panel cabin up?
No, absolutely not. There's no way I would have committed to putting up the SIP panels without a roofer.
I concur.
I would have never have done that. Basically, when we were planning the build and we were speaking to our architect and then our SIP panel installer, we told them, hey, we're not going to be able to move forward. We were unable to find a roofer. There had been a large hailstorm in this area that summer, and every roofer for 100 miles was double booked into the following year doing hail repair. But our SIP panel installer and our architect said, well, hey, you could just put ice and snow shield, which is a barrier, right? You could just put down the snow and ice shield, and that would get you through the winter. So even before we did the SIP panel install, it was probably about 2-3 weeks before the actual install, our architect asked me, well, who's your roofer? And I said, well, remember, we don't have a roofer. We're going to put the snow and ice shield down. And he said, that may work for your pitched roof, but it will 100% not work for the flat roof. The flat roof needs to be drained. Any water that's sitting will ultimately soak through. And typically they don't put snow and ice shield on the flat roofs. It's at that point that we really knew we were in trouble, that we had a big problem. We had SIP panels that were already constructed. They were going to be on a truck in a few weeks. We had no roofer lined up, and now the plan we had to use snow and ice shield membrane to protect the roof during the winter wasn't going to happen or wasn't going to work. Everything was in motion. I guess we had two options. One, you could have stacked the panels, maybe put them under a tarp and try and reschedule the assembly in the spring, which we didn't really discuss much or even think much about. The other option was that we being DeAnn and I, would try and put some sort of a roof on the cabin. Still, the plan was the SIP panel installer would put snow and ice on the pitched part. DeAnn and I we bought EPDM roofing, which is the rubberized membrane roofing. We bought the roofing and all the materials at some sort of a great expense to actually try and put the membrane roof on the flat roof ourselves. After the SIP panel build went up, we jumped up there and started getting to work.
Good morning. It's 23 degrees this morning. I have all the layers on, hand warmers in my feet. The roofing crew, which is Kurt and I, are here to start working on the flat roof.
You can imagine the picture. It is near the end of October. It has already snowed multiple times. DeAnn and I, who have no construction experience, were now on the roof in freezing cold weather, trying to build a roof for both the pitch section and the flat roof section, knowing that if we didn't get a roof or some sort of protection on the cabin, that it may be a total loss. By the time the spring came and all the snow and moisture damage was done, it could be a total loss.
I thought I would try and summarize the last month. It's hard. October was kind of horrible. We spent almost the entire month in our camper. Been here like literally a month. Holy smokes, like we willed this to happen. And then from there, it went downhill. We got like January weather in October. It's really cold out here. It was like frigid temperatures. Our builder had to stop. He couldn't finish the job on Friday. We all had to scoot out of there late on a Thursday night. We ran over a raccoon with the camper on the way home. People were flashing us because we had our Jeep raised and now the lights are in the wrong spot and shining in people's faces as they're driving. Then Kurt and I had to take over and try and put in the sloped roof. Now it's Kurt and I making a mad dash to get the roof over the flat part of the cabin. Kurt and I are getting set up inside to start working on the flat roof and coming up with our game plan. And the nightmare kind of just felt like it just kept going.
The first thing we did is we built a parapet wall, which is actually still there. It's about a 2-foot section of wall that goes above the SIP panel top, and that kind of forms, starts to form the shape of the roof.
Yesterday was the first time I ever used this saw like this. I did not take shop in high school.
It's a miter saw.
See, I don't even know what it's called.
It'll be like this. So like this can be raised up.
So we have the parapets on the back of the truck right now. We're gonna get up there and I'm gonna hand them up to Kurt and we're gonna do a test and see if this works.
Done by 9 a.m. So on the inside you've got, now you can start containing and channeling the water. We also cut out, the holes in the parapet wall for these downspouts that we have, which are gorgeous and are the work of Paul Sheet Metal out of Rice Lake, Wisconsin.
Nothing like a fulfilling lunch after a hard morning of work on the job site. Little ABJ almond butter. Wasa almond butter jelly. Tastes pretty good. We've been on the roof all day.
We then started stacking up 2x4s and 1/2-inch plywood sheathing to create pitch. Even though the roof is flat, it's not completely flat. You need to pitch it. I think it was like 4 inches for every 4 feet it has to be pitched, or 2 inches per 4 feet it has to be pitched to get the water to run and move and direct it to these panels.
So the plan is we're drawing a straight diagonal line, and then we have to build a slope from the corner to here, so these two slopes meet and drive the water out here. So that's our first plan of action this morning.
I think what you're going to do is take just a straight up 2x4, and you're going to want to put it in at least against that wall, because you want all of this to go this way.
Okay, so we think we've got it figured out. We're starting the generator up. It seems more complicated in our heads than I think it needs to be. So we've got our angle figured out where we need to cut. We'll try it.
It was during that phase that we really knew we were in trouble. Trying to get the angles correct, trying to get the pitches correct to direct the water out of the corners where you have like a multiple variable pitch, it has to go one way and the other way, was a nightmare. Typically the professionals and what's on the roof now, they actually order a foam kit that's all sliced and cut perfectly for the roof to create the proper pitches, and then it kind of goes in like a Lego kit, and that's what creates the pitch. Instead of foam, we were trying to do that using plywood and 2x4s and realized that that wasn't going to work.
Okay, we don't want to get too excited, but it's looking like we're doing it right. All right, we got here on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Today's Friday. We've got the slope in. We didn't record yesterday, but we had an emergency call with our architect. We were having a hard time figuring out the crickets. We've got it figured out.
Should I stay here?
We we were up there one day. We'd been up there for about 4 or 5 days now doing construction. We were making progress. What happened was a neighbor rode up on their bikes to introduce themselves. We were in the middle of a nervous breakdown, gave them a little bit of a rundown on what was happening.
So we were standing up here the other day. I think it was 2 days ago. Today's October 22nd. It's a Saturday morning. And some people came biking up our driveway, as often is the case when we're up here, which is awesome. And they say, how's it going? And we say, it's horrible. We have to do our own roof. And they say, well, we have a roofer we can recommend, after we've called and tried to contact like 40 different roofers.
Scott said, hey, I've used Paul Sheet Metal out of Rice Lake. Give them a call. They might be able to help out. Immediately, DeAnn called Paul Sheet Metal and told them what was up.
Long story short, I'm coming up on the ladder yesterday. I just had a 10-minute phone call with a roofer up here while I'm trying to get up on the roof to figure out if we can do the roof. Let's hope the 10-minute call with the roofer pays off so we don't have to finish this job.
They said, hey, we're going to be in the neighborhood in your area. Rice Lake is about an hour away, but for some reason they were going to be very close to our cabin the next day. The next day they came, Paul Sheet Metal came to do an estimate. They took a look at what was going on, and in all honesty, I think they knew we were in a really bad spot. They knew that our roof wasn't going to work. We were in way over our heads. They knew that if this sat unprotected for the winter, it would be a loss. And miraculously, they said, we will get you a roof.
They called me back, and they were here this morning, and it looks like we may finally have a roofer who can do everything. So, a couple crowbars, we're ripping this all out. And we're okay with that, as long as our roof gets done right. We did our best, and onward and upward to get this thing sealed up before the snow starts falling in significant amounts. I also wanted to say that is the great thing about this location is everybody helps each other out. When you're talking to them, they say, well, I know so-and-so, or I know so-and-so, and everybody bikes up here. So the cycling community is amazing, and so we want to thank all the people up here who have ridden their bikes up our driveway and asked how it's going, and they've been there and they've been super helpful. So glad to be part of this community.
We find ourselves starting from scratch, brick by brick.
This is how far we got, and we're taking it all out.
The brush is thick. All I'm asking now, don't give up on love. Don't give up.
Okay, we started at 10:50. It's 11:35. That took us like all week to put in and minutes to take out, but it's all for the greater good. So, and what a crazy week. When we started up here, it was like 23 degrees, and it's already like 60 something. It's going to be 70 today. So this whole week has just been a roller coaster. Not all is lost. We get to save our parapet, so that's what we're working on right now, and we're finishing it up. And I guess then our roof duties as contractors, we fired ourselves, so we're done. The edging you can see over by where Kurt's standing is called the parapet. We built that. We agreed with the roofer this morning that can stay, and if they need to add to it, they will, but at least that's salvageable, and we're gonna finish that. But anything else we're taking out. So that's all that's left of a week's worth of work. So that's the pile. That's what we just did and undid. All right, that took an hour. Any thoughts? Any parting words?
You know, I honestly don't think we did a bad job. And I do think that if we hadn't found a roofer, we would have been okay for our first winter. In fact, we probably could have made a few winters with the roof as we were building it. But feel a lot better knowing that professionals will be up here and and install it the proper way and get it done right. Again, huge thanks to Paul.
So back to square one, but a better square one. So what they're going to do after this is they've already started, I sent them the architect's drawings yesterday. They've already started CAD drawings, and it basically gets a foam insulation layer that's molded with a slope. So no monkey business, it's all ready and set to go with computer aided design drawings. Then they lay the membrane off after that. Then the next step is we either need to do the fascia, find somebody to do the fascia and the soffit, or we have to figure out how to do that before they can put the metal roof on. But back to where we started, rain's gonna come through and we just have to be okay with that. And hopefully it's just till the first week in November.
They left. That following Monday, they called us with a quote. It was not cheap. There was a lot of emotion, let's just say, when we got that quote.
It was pretty much panic mode around here.
But we had a quote. They were committed getting the roofs installed, which was miraculous, and they felt confident they could do it, even though now it was essentially the end of October in northern Wisconsin, right? And to do an EPDM roof, a flat, membrane roof, it has to be perfectly dry. For a shingled roof or a steel roof, it can be a little wet, and they can still get the membrane down and then put down the roof. It's okay. But for the EPDM, the membrane roof on the flat sections, it has to be perfectly dry because they have to put down an adhesive. Crips wall, is that what it's called? There's a company that you send off your plan to, and they pass out and ship you a Lego block in full.
I see. So that's what's happening.
They're gonna put it. Sure. No, I just left them a little leeway, and then I'm just gonna leave that.
So we're gonna drain out here.
But the wall comes out here, and then this wall comes down here. So you have to fill like this space and then this space.
It's our last day here, and hopefully sooner than later the roofers will be here to take us out of our misery that has been the last 2 weeks of this roofing saga. Every project has a nightmare point. I think we've hit it. Let's hope this is the only one, and we'll get this sealed up for winter and then take a break. And the next time we come up here, hopefully there's not a huge puddle in the middle of the cabin and there is a roof on top of all of this. So we're exhausted.
What happened was it started snowing again. And raining.
And then we were just like waiting, and luckily we got that call this Monday, and the roof, I believe, is on. So they were supposed to finish Tuesday night, and it just feels like such a huge relief. We really pulled this off by the skin of our teeth, and I'm not sure quite yet that we've pulled it off.
But miraculously, about the second week in November, there were 2 days where it was dry. The roof was dry. Paul's got up here, and they did two things. One, they put all the membrane down on the flat section of the roof, which was a miracle. It wasn't perfect, it didn't look as neat as this, but they got it down and it's held, and we didn't get a drop of water in the cabin all winter. And I can see the EPDM over the edge. I can see the flashing new trailers here.
Smile, 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 smile.
Can you see the metal roof at all?
No, because it's covered in snow.
I don't think they put that metal roof up there.
Oh yeah, maybe they didn't get to it yet.
I don't think they've done it. I think they put that snow and ice shield up there and that's it. The other thing they did is they put the snow and ice shield down that the SIP panel installer had committed to doing but didn't do. They ripped off the cheap underlayment that had been put down. They put on the snow and ice shield, and they actually put this metal roof on half of the roof. So the only 2 days that they could have worked before spring and saved our cabin, they got up here, got the roofs on, got it protected, and kind of saved the day. And we will always be in debt to Paul. Again, I can't overemphasize, it probably would have been a total loss if they had not committed and got up here for those 2 days and put a roof on and protected our cabin.
We're back. It's November 26th. It's been a couple weeks since we've been here. Half the roof is on, so they have left, and they will not be back until spring and after we've got our wood stove in. There is definitely still some water spots with water coming through in here, so that makes me nervous that it's coming through and that it's going to be like lows of 5 degrees up here next week, but Kurt's actually more ready for it to freeze. He'll feel better, so I don't know. Hopefully we can get this thing dried out eventually. And we need to do some work, so. No, would you have decided, knowing we didn't have a roofer?
Oh God, no.
Would you have put this SIP panel cabin up right at the end of the fall season before it was going to be literally the worst winter ever?
No, absolutely not. There's no way I would have committed to putting up the SIP panels without a roofer.
I concur.
I would have never have done that. I think if you had a pitched roof and you had somebody lined up to at least get snow and ice shield on, which is what we had, and it got through the winter just fine. You wouldn't want to do it for many winters, but for a winter and even the worst winter in history, it got through just fine. But I would never commit to doing any sort of build going into a rainy section or a snowy section of the year in your part of the world without a committed roofer and knowing that you would have a roof on going into it.
And I guess for my part, and you can say how you feel about this, it goes back to the first discussion we had when we saw the first drawings of the cabin, and I said, I don't think we should have a flat roof in northern Wisconsin. Like, instinctually, that seems like a bad idea. So personally, I wouldn't do this. I get why our architect did it. It's a cost savings thing, but I don't know. There's probably some other way where you could have sloped the back of the roof, or I'm sure he could have come up with something if we had pushed harder. So I personally probably would have vetoed this part of the design and just extended the front and have a pitched roof or something. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like having the flat section roof and the membrane roof, it has caused all sorts of problems. First of all, it was multiples expensive of like a shingled or a metal roof even. Like shingled roofs are the cheapest, metal are much more. The membrane roof was astronomical to put it on. It was shockingly expensive. The other problem we have is that now the venting for the plumbing, the venting for the heating, the venting for like the bathroom fans, nobody wants to put it through the roof, and we're having to do all sorts of atypical build strategies to get those venting pipes. You can see one right there for the bathroom. We're having to do all sorts of unique solutions to get the venting pipes out of the house because we have that membrane roof.
Yeah, so it's like one problem is the roof, two problem is we're the general contractor, so we've never done this before. So then you catch stuff later like, oh, there's supposed to be by code, there's supposed to be a bathroom fan. How would you normally vent that? Through the roof. Well, the roof's on now. We're not going to do that. Try and find a venting fan that has to go through the side, and then find somebody that feels comfortable with installing it the way we want to is a challenge. And then luckily our plumber was able to do all the venting for the heat exhaust in the mechanical room out the side. That typically sometimes goes through the roof. Things like that. So I just, no matter how cost effective it is or good it looks, I gotta admit, I was pretty pissed, and I told our architect never to design a flat roof in this area again. It's too hard to find somebody, and it just doesn't make sense. So
That's another great point. Like, there's tons of roofers who will do a shingled roof. Most of them will also do a metal roof. less will do a metal roof. Finding someone who will do a membrane roof, especially in northern climates, there's like two. There were literally 2 people that would do a membrane roof, which made it very difficult. And then even like a membrane roof might work better in a warmer climate, but like the other thing we have here is, and it's been a structural engineer verified it, but we can get up to 4 to 5 feet of snow on top of that roof. So again, talking about the venting, even if we did vent it through the ceiling, you would need stacks that go up at least 5 feet to ensure that that exhaust air would get out above the snow. You know, in hindsight, I would have maybe widened the main cabin, and I would have continued the pitch roof all the way out to this side and just had a single like barn-like structure, which we also had discussed.
Which was in our original design specification document as an inspiration. But we also had some 1970s designs, so I'm not sure. But I just wouldn't do this design again. I would have kept it a lot more simple.
Yeah, it looks great. I'm not going to lie. Like when you're walking around the cabin, it's very distinctive with these different roof lines. We have different types of siding. It's a very unique looking home. It looks great. But from a practical perspective, it's not great. We're done. We're through the worst of it. But I would not. In hindsight, if we could snap our fingers and do it again, I would never do this again.
No. So in conclusion, don't do a flat roof. But we've made it through the other side. We're able to start doing the finish work now, and we're glad we have our little crash pad. So, but I would just again urge caution if you're your own general contractor. One, try and avoid that situation. We keep saying that in every video, but I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't recommend that if at all possible, because somebody that has experience doing build projects is going to catch a lot of things that we've just had to deal with as we've gone along. But yes.
Yeah, but you know, like I said, if we weren't our own general contractors, we would probably still be 1 or 2 years away from having this, and ultimately we would have built this and we would have learned through an expensive contractor all the things we're learning now. So
yeah, I mean that's a point too. So
yeah, I mean we wouldn't have known to alter the design until, because they would have just. I mean, we did. We showed the design. We did get feedback. We did get one bid to build it. They didn't suggest, holy moly, you should change all of this. They were like, okay, we'll build it. Give us the money. And they would have built this, and we still would have the challenges we're having now.
But this is also not only the fact that we had to be our own general contractor, is the fact that it's really hard to find workers up here because there's so few workers and so many projects going on. But this roof situation and the extra expense that we did not anticipate is also part of the reason why we are now on the slow build program, and we've learned to accept that, and we're not anywhere near in the interior where we thought we would be when we started this project. We won't have a kitchen this year, but we probably will have a shower, so we'll take it. So that's
always making progress every month. Every month we're closer, and it's at a point where we can stay and do all the fun things we want to do up here. So we can have fun now instead of just work and worry, which is an awesome place to be.
Yay!
Speaking of which, I'm going to get back to work.
We're off to work and off to fun, and then we got to head home today.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
This is the very first time seeing the roof since it got put up. It's been like 6 or 7 months. It's April 29th today, the second to the last day of April. And it looks good. And it's keeping us dry. So happy.
Through the arbor, in the garden room, wings are beating, baby, me and you alone. Pencil drawing phases of the moon, all through the stages, both becoming seen into. Slowly we take on phosphorescence, vivid in the bond, phosphorescence.